And ZBA, you are live.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everybody, to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for August 22nd, 2023. We have two canceled public hearings this evening. One is Quigley to reset 1082 Fireplace Road, Springs, of tax map number 300-39-14-10. The next canceled public hearing is Foley Chris at 54 Firestone Road, Montauk, tax map number 300-17-2-34.1. With that, I will read the first scheduled public hearing into the record. The applicant is Whalen, Matthew, and Lindsay at 32 Tyler Road in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-68-12-5. The size and location is 8,902 square feet at 32 Tyler Road, Mirror Holdings, Section 3, map number 1319 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 421 square foot terrace, a 64 square foot spa, a 64 square foot shed, a 195 linear feet of timber retaining walls, and 346 linear feet of fencing on a parcel within 100 foot of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 10 variances are required. Variances of 12 feet, 26 feet, 16 feet, and 70 feet from 255-430. Wetland setbacks are required to allow a terrace 88 feet, a shed 74 feet, retaining walls 84 feet, and fences 30 feet at their closest from wetlands where 100 foot is required. Variances of 6 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot, and 10 foot from 255-1110. Dimensional setbacks are required to allow the construction of a shed 4 feet from the the northern side yard lot line where 10 feet is required. A spa 10 feet from the eastern side yard lot line where 10 feet from the southern side yard lot line. A terrace 10 feet from the eastern side yard lot line and 10 feet from the southern side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. A variance of 4.8 feet from 255-1172D pyramid regulations is required to allow the construction of a shed with pyramid setbacks of the northern lot line and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is B residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service in posting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the affidavit of posting and affidavit of mailing, they're both in order.
Thank you. And who's doing it?
Yeah.
Vice Chair, do the report.
Thank you. Tyler, start the first one. Here's the posting on a tree out in front. This is on Tyler, and Tyler's off of the old highway down in an area where in Montauk we refer to as the President. It's a hilly rolling area, and you're going to see that in some of these photos. Next. I've taken a look down towards the ocean here, and you can see the nature of the road. This is it's a pretty good view down here, and you can see that it's well vegetated. Most of the houses here have been established for a significant amount of time. Next. I've taken a look the other way. Now I'm looking north and away back up towards where the highway would be eventually. Next. I've looked directly across the way. It's just directly across from the house is vegetation. There's some sort of structure back in there, but nothing can be seen from here. Next. Now I'm standing at the driveway looking at the face of the house, and there's a driveway pad here, and you're going to see we're going to come to some steps. Next. These are the steps that lead down to, or I guess I'm looking back up from here probably, but anyway, these are the steps, and you get an idea that there's a grade change as there is all through this area. So from the road, we step down to get to the front of the house. Next. Now I'm looking a little bit towards the north here, and this is a wall that we'll have some other photos of, and we'll come into conversation. There's a stone wall with a blue stone cap that's running in a semicircular fashion on one side of the property. Next. I've now gone to the southern side of the property here. There's going to be a couple of things to see here, but these are some stone steps, as you can see, and there is on the proposed survey, we see an access path that would be slightly to the left of here. There'll be another photo next. And this is that area here, just to the right in the right corner. You can see a corner of one of those steps, but you can see here, this is now obviously used somehow as access. But again, on the survey proposed is an access path from here. Next. Now I've turned from that exact spot and I'm looking my way on the south side of the house, and you can see this upper deck that gets mentioned. Next. I've gone a little past it and I'm looking back. I have a patio and an upper deck here. Next. Now I've gone my way to the back portion of the house, and I'm on the east side. You're going to see the deck, and you can see the rear of the structure. Next. From that very spot, I've just turned and looked away and towards the back of the property line. This is the area we're going to be discussing where the hot tub will go and some other decking. Next, go ahead. Oh, it is bamboo, and you'll get another view of it. There's quite a standard bamboo here. Next. I'm not sure what I hope to achieve there, except to show maybe the relationship of the deck to the backyard. Next. Here you can see the standard bamboo, and we're running along the back of the property, the east side of the property. Again, a portion of what's right in the lowest portion of the photo is where we're going to see the proposed development is. Next. Looking back towards the house, I'm standing approximately here from where I'm standing with the camera. I'd be in the middle of the deck, not too far from where the hot tub is proposed. Next. This is, it's important to see the location of this cover. The cover on this survey says it's 1.9 feet from the property line. In the next photo, you'll see how that it has something to do with the configuration of what we're understanding the backyard to look like. Next. I'm just pointing down to show it's septic. Next. Now, if you kind of look at the dark spot straight ahead of me, a little bit to the right of the warren, that's the septic cover, and 1.9 feet is nowhere near where the bamboo is. So a portion of this, when we're looking at this, the back property line is much closer to the house than that would seem to indicate there. There's another 5 or 6 feet of clearing beyond to get to the bamboo. Next. Now I'm looking back at this porch that's on the far side. There was this discussion as we came around the house, I forgot to mention, is that the proposed walkway that's going to connect from one side to another. That was in the back side. Next. I guess I've gone my way around now. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure.
Back toward where the septic is.
Yeah, okay. That's looking back. Oh, yeah, I'm looking back the other way. Thank you. I'm looking back the other way, the way I came from, back towards where the proposed work is to be done. Next. Yeah, again, I've just come back here. Again, if you see this cover and you realize 1'9" from there, you can see there's a significant amount of open space that is not part of this parcel. Next. Now I've gone to the north side. I'm coming around. The proposed shed is about where this vegetation is that you see on the right, opposite where the air conditioning units are. Next. There was mention in the TAM of a pre-existing structure. It looks as if it was a one-time a vegetable or flower bed. It seems to be abandoned at this point, but the 6x6s are still there. This is in the northeast corner of the parcel. Next. Now I'm very much closer to where the proposed shed is to be, and there's the proposal to have proposed to remove this wall that's in front of us with the fence on the top of it. We'll get a little closer, but this is the area where the shed, if we look at the survey, is proposed to be erected. Next. Again, just another give you an idea from it. I'm standing closer to the house. That's the area right here. So you can see that there'll be some work to be done to remove a wall. Thank you. Next. A little closer. The wall is curling around towards the front where I started. Next. Again, now I'm back in the front, looking back towards this wall that curled around as it did, past the corner of the house and down to where the shed is proposed to be constructed. Is that it? Or does that have more? Oh, I walked out onto the road and over to the neighbor looking for a property marker that was sort of, not seen from where you were on the applicant's property, but I could see it from the road, and that's dividing that from the immediate neighbor to the north. Next. That's it, I think. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Introduce yourself.
Hi, how are you? Matthew Whalen.
Okay, are you an attorney?
Am I an attorney? No, I'm not an attorney.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Matthew Whalen. I was fortunate enough to purchase this home with my wife, Lindsay, and our 3 children, Henry, George, and Greta, who are 10, 8, and 6, and our 2 dogs, Moose and Birdie. We've been coming out to the East End our whole life, born and raised in Long Island. And again, we're fortunate enough to purchase this residence back in December of 2020. We love the home. There are challenges, though, which we're kind of here talking about today, and that from a safety perspective, we have no fencing for our dogs or our children. There's a tremendous amount of difficulty from a storage perspective for any stuff that we use to go to the beach with or enjoy the house with. And there's really no outdoor space to kind of be able to enjoy the outside. And that we were not aware of some of the challenges as it relates to the wetlands that are adjacent to the property. So we're here today, obviously, asking for help in order to basically construct what we put together for you today. And really just hoping that, we can come out the other side of this positively.
Are you aware of the variance standards that we are governed by, that we have to govern our decisions by?
Yes, and I know we have Barry Block, landscape design and construction, that's helped us with this entire design, who can certainly.
Because, I mean, even the area variances that you're requesting, the dimensional variances, I'll say, as far as setbacks and pyramid, there's going to be kind of hurdles for us to get through.
I know. The house was also, though, constructed with even some of those variances in place as well, which is, we're
Right,
hoping that.
but again, we're going to have to also weigh in previous ZBA decisions and what a previous zoning board has decided. This is a pretty developed piece of property, right? So I don't know if you have any questions, anybody, but or we can hear the rest of the
I'd like to hear
presentation.
the rest first.
All right, maybe we can hear some of the rest of the.
Yes. There was one call out, I'll certainly give you a chance, David, is that the one wall we are not removing, just.
Yeah, the latter part of your presentation,
Yeah.
not the photos.
You
Well, wait, you go.
have to wait, you have to wait and be sworn in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm David Barnes. I'm a registered landscape architect. I work for Barry Block Landscape Design and Construction, and I'm here representing Mr. Matt Whalen.
You raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So we've prepared a plan. As Mr. Whalen said, this property is rather unique. I recognize that there are several variances requested of this board, and it is unique. We have tried to develop a plan that minimizes those variances as much as possible, and I can go through them with you. There are 3 variances related to sort of constructing 3 different elements. So I guess the first one would be to construct the spa and terrace in the southeast corner. So we have located the spa and terrace in the southeast corner, away from the sanitary system and away from the wetland as much as possible. Right, that would have an 88-foot setback to the wetland. We've kept that terrace small, and it would seek a variance to 10 feet for the spa and the terrace, where 20 feet is required. Because of the unique shape of this lot, there aren't very many options to do that. And it was, this is not a self-created hardship. The shape of the lot, the setbacks were this way when Mr. Whalen bought the property. The second item would be for construction of the storage shed, the 8-foot by 8-foot storage shed. The proposed shed location maintains and conforms to the 30-foot accessory front yard setback. We made the shed 8 by 8, so I believe it's a 74-foot variance where 75 foot is required, so we only have a 1-foot relief sought there from the wetland. But one thing about the presentation and the photos that we went through, we are not proposing to remove that stone retaining wall. We're proposing to construct the shed on top of the wall, between the wall and the northerly property line, which then creates the 4-foot setback to the side yard setback for the shed. If we were to conform and put the shed 10 feet from the setback there, we would need to remove that wall. It would be a big expense. The shed would also then be closer than 10 feet to the house. New York State Fire Code requires that storage sheds be 10 feet from the house. There's only one small area of this property in the southeast corner, essentially where we're proposing a spa. That would be a conforming location for the shed. That is also the only open lawn area next to the covered porch on the south side of the house where the kids play, that this open space. So, and it's way in the back. You'd have to go up and down the steps for the bicycles, the beach things, all of that. So we're proposing the shed along that north property line. We made it as small as possible at 64 square feet, so it would conform as much as possible. And are proposing that it would have a 6-foot property line fence and evergreen screening along there to mitigate the pyramid regulations. The third group of items that the variance are requested is related to property line fencing. We have a few different types of property line fencing. There's some areas that would have a 6-foot wooden fence in the side yards. There along the east property line, the back property line, a portion of that we're proposing not only a bamboo barrier to prevent that bamboo from, it keeps encroaching out. Mr. Whalen has talked to the neighbor many times about that, but we're proposing a bamboo barrier, a low retaining wall to level that out somewhat, and a privacy fence along there. In the northeasterly corner closest to the wetland, we're proposing a 4-foot metal picket fence. It would be most open, it would be most transparent. We think it would have the least impact on the wetlands. Wildlife would also be able to go under it or through it because it has 4-inch spacing, and it would still comply with pool code requirements. And we have, a picture of that we could give you if you would like. So that is the 3 things. The variance requested are the minimum necessary to make the property usable for their family and the way they use it. When the Whalen family came to us, they asked for a swimming pool. We looked at the setbacks. We explained to them that wouldn't really fit on the property. We've reduced that as much as possible with just an 8 by 8 spot. So, there's really no other feasible alternative to meet the goals. The variances were not self-created. They're unique to this property, and they will not create a hardship to any of the adjoining properties or diminish the value of the neighborhood. Do you have any questions?
I do. To start with about the shed, so the access from the shed is going to come from the gravel parking area, not from below, since it's up higher?
Yes.
And that's what those 3 timber steps are about, those 3 timber steps that they've notated here? 3 timber steps at 8-foot length?
Yes, so the upper level gravel parking lot, there would be a path through some vegetation, the existing vegetation, and we would put some steps because it starts sloping down, and we wanted to put the shed as low as possible. I believe we're showing 3 steps down
And it says 3 steps
sunken
here.
18 inches, and that also reduces the magnitude of the pyramid law variance that we would be seeking.
If you are to look at the one picture, it shows the wall as it slopes down, because the property slopes down there. So that's what the timber steps would be, so allow you to get down grade and be able to have that shed back grade. Basically.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead. I was going to say, go ahead, and I'll come back to it.
Are those timbers, the timber steps, this is on this that you're submitting this evening? So it's a new addition to?
No, the color rendering
Let me go look at
the color
survey.
rendering we submitted this evening was just to graphically make it a
Yeah,
little
I'll
easier
take
to
it,
see.
yeah.
Everything that we're proposing was on the application,
I see them.
on both the plans from Barry Block and from the surveyor, the engineered plan. Do you have any other questions for us?
That's that thing I showed you, that was 6 by 6.
You have other questions, Ed?
Well, just about the spa. So we're talking about the spa, and you have limited places on the property to put it, and yet it goes to the furthest part of this enclosed area, this area that you're going to improve. So the natural question would be, why couldn't that spot be drawn closer to the house to get it further away from your problem here? You certainly would have gotten rid of I guess that's the east side, right? The east side setback problem if we had drawn it closer to the house. So why couldn't that be drawn, even if we had a developed area there with some patio?
It's
could be drawn
it's
back.
my understanding of the code that even if we shifted the spa on the patio
Yeah.
closer to the house, the entire patio still has to meet the 20-foot
Oh, that's true. The
setback.
patio would, but
So
certainly.
it wouldn't reduce the magnitude of the variance being sought because the patio and the spa being one element, I guess we could be open maybe to shifting them around, but it would still be 10 feet to the terrace, right? Because
So when we get to make a decision about this, and we look at this, one of the questions we ask is, what are the alternatives? What alternatives were there? And the alternatives I understand about having that area and wanting that much area. One of the alternatives would have been to abandon some of that patio area and bring the spa back closer to the house to reduce the variance. Now, I understand that that's less attractive to the applicant, but that's certainly something we're going to be asking ourselves here. What were the alternatives in this particular location? By the way, I was there, and it's a wonderfully landscaped site. So there's that idea that disturbing that for privacy between neighbors in the road, I can understand there are limitations. You're not going to be taking down landscape that's absolutely necessary here. But you still had some area to play with back here, and that's a question that we think.
that's something our client could consider, and you could.
Absolutely. I'm open to
whether-
alternative options if that's an opportunity. We're certainly willing to work.
And I think the other one is that, as I'm reading this, the fence, that 4-foot fence that follows the configuration of the property line and takes that skew and heads off to the northeast. Certainly that fence, I guess, is to enclose the entire piece of property, but it could have been brought back as well to help us with that. So someone's bound to wonder about that here on the board. And what could we have
Northwest
done?
corner.
And that northwest, is that northwest or northeast?
Northeast, kind of nearest the wetland you're speaking about, right?
Yeah. In other words, that fence going as far back as it does, since it's a vegetated area, yeah, in that corner, that fence could have been brought back to us to decrease what we're looking for in terms of our relationship. Would have decreased the variance here in terms of the wetlands. So there are a couple of variables here. I recognize it's a tight spot, and all of these are small lots, and we are very familiar with what goes on in that portion of Montauk and how difficult it is to place a house. You've got a good-sized house on the property. You're looking for other options. That's fair. We have to ask ourselves, could there have been another approach here? And I'm wondering about, the explanation of the shed is still something we'll have to look at in terms of the pyramid variance. But in terms of the spa, it seems to me the spa could be relocated and we could cut back on the variances in two directions here. So we'll let other board members speak on this, but that's my point of view.
Sorry?
Well, regarding the spa, in the TAM, if you read the TAM, you're asking for an 8-foot by 8-foot spa. And that becomes a pool effectively as far as the town code. So you need to meet a 20-foot setback, which automatically you have to ask for these 10-foot setbacks that you're requesting. Making the spa smaller would reduce those setbacks that are required. And also, I also visited the house. It seems like you could move the area proposed for the spa closer to where you have a first floor deck that comes out of the southern side of the house, that something could be incorporated there perhaps. Again, an alternative design for it, but just changing the size of the spa would buy you something in terms of the setbacks required.
We could discuss that. I was under the impression that it was the depth of the water, not the square footage, but, well, at least for fencing.
Did you read the technical analysis memo?
I'm sorry, I said TAM. It's the technical, is that?
I have not seen that.
Oh, you might want to read that because
Yeah.
that's set out by the town. So you might want to get a copy of that and read that.
Okay, I don't think
The
that was
town-
provided to
The
us
planning
before the hearing.
department sets out their concerns about the application.
It's posted online on the document center. But I'm sure it could be sent to you in a digital format.
And they also talk about the revegetation relative to the 2004 ZBA approval. There was the required natural vegetation re-veg that there seems to be cleared today and sod in that area.
We'll certainly get a copy of that and review it,
And the other,
address it.
the other thing we're concerned about, and, we understand what you're trying to do, but our concern is also setting a precedent. When you set a shed so close to the property line with a pyramid variance asking for, we denied sheds before. So as far as being precedent, we have to evaluate that. And what's the nexus for approving it?
Could you switch back to the photo that shows the cross-section of the shed? We may be able to do a shed that had like a salt box type of architecture or a lean-to kind of roof that exactly followed that pyramid line. Where on the, right, if you, the left line, the red line was the roof line. And then architecturally, I don't think it was beautiful, but it may meet the, the client's need for storage of bicycles and, stand-up paddle boards and, beach toys and things like that. We're planning on screening it heavily anyway.
So are you aware that there was a previous zoning board determination?
Yes.
Okay, and you've been through that. You read it? Anybody have any questions?
Well, the shed is bothersome.
Yeah, thank you.
Between the
Maybe
pyramid
we'll
and
hear
the
from the
side
planning
yard
department
setback.
because he's pretty much going to outline what their concerns are.
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Waiting to be sworn.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, Tyler, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So the current application is proposing the construction of a shed, terrace, spa, retaining walls, and fencing, all within jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands. The proposal requires 10 variances for the construction of these structures for both wetland setbacks as well as dimensional and pyramid setbacks. The Planning Department does not consider the application to be a good candidate for most of the variances requested. The property came before the zoning board in 2004 for the demolition and reconstruction of the residence at that time. And at that point, the board placed conditions upon the approval, which stated that the applicant revegetate the northern portion of the parcel as depicted on the Planning Department sketch on the approved survey. The area which appeared to be revegetated for the 2004 zoning board determination appears to now be cleared, and the current application is proposing to place sod in that area. The Planning Department recommends that the applicant revegetate the area in accordance with the 2004 ZBA determination. The technical analysis memo prepared in 2004 for the demolition and reconstruction of the residence suggested that the applicant revegetate the northern portion of the parcel with native species such as highbush blueberry and red chokeberry. That revegetation was suggested as mitigation to help abate stormwater runoff and aid in the removal of pollutants and sediments prior to recharge into the groundwater table. At the time of the 2004 assessment, the parcel was almost completely cleared of native vegetation. The applicant is proposing to install a bamboo barrier and hold off the bamboo, which appears to be present on the neighboring property to the rear. The planning department does not object to the installation of this barrier, as it would be a benefit to stop the spread of non-native invasive species. The proposed bamboo barrier has the potential to serve as a benefit to the wetlands as well, since bamboo has been known to push out wetland species, resulting in the creation of a monoculture. The subject wetland can be described as a seasonal watercourse containing pin oak and hydric and clay soils. The wetland was observed to be seasonally flooded in the winter of 2018. However, typically the wetland does not appear to be flooded. The wetland is relatively small in size and is located at the base of a large depression, which is an important component in stormwater retention especially. The southeastern corner of Woods and Tyler Road contains significant slopes towards the wetland jurisdiction. Increasing development within this area will only exacerbate flooding at the base of these slopes. The applicant is also proposing to construct a 64 square foot shed 4 feet from the northern property line. This shed does not meet the side yard or pyramid setbacks in this location. It appears that the applicant has room to relocate the shed closer to the residence and meet better side yard and pyramid setbacks. The shed also requires a wetland setback variance in the proposed location. Should the applicant locate the shed closer to the subject residence, a wetland setback variance would still be required. However, it appears that there are suitable locations on the property which would be the same distance or further from the wetlands, which would then not require side yard or pyramid variances. The subject spa is proposed to be 64 square feet. A spa of this size is required to meet the same setbacks as swimming pools as per East Hampton Town Code. The associated terrace surrounding the spa is subject to the same setbacks since it is considered a pool patio. The applicant could avoid to meet the 20-foot required setbacks by decreasing the size of the spa to 6 foot by 6 foot, which the East Hampton Town Code does not consider to be a swimming pool. Should the applicant amend their application to make the spa smaller in size, the variances would not be required, as the spa itself would meet the 100-foot setback from wetlands. It would still need a small variance for the patio itself. Overall, the planning department does not consider this application to be a good candidate for most of the variances requested. There appears to be reasonable alternatives for most of the proposed structures, which would lessen the extent of the variances required. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any questions, Tyler?
No.
No.
Made it clear.
Thank you, Tyler. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak?
There are no callers on the line right now.
Okay, we do have someone here.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. My name's Timothy Duffy. I'm here with my wife, Margie. We are the immediate abutters to the north at 38 Tyler. And I had represented...
You want to raise your right hand? Do you swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I had represented to the petitioners that we did not have any opposition, and for the most part, we still don't. But the shed being on the upper level was news to me. Looking at the plan and the layout of the property, if it was where it appeared to have been being put, that wall that we were talking about that now isn't being removed to put the shed there, there's a good 3+ feet going to 4 feet that the shed would have been down below, and we'd only be looking at about 5 feet of it. Basically, what they're saying is now if it's going on top of that wall, it's literally right off our patio, right outside our kitchen window, up against the property line, 9 feet, 8 inches tall. So obviously we have an issue with that. There's a small house over there on the left side, as you're looking, right side from how you're looking at it. So that's certainly a concern. I mean, obviously, you have the issues with the standards and so forth that I'm not going to get into. We didn't have any issue with any of the zoning standards and whatever they need to do for dry wells and drainage, but having a 9-foot+ structure right there on the property line is a different story than if it had been down below.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, you have questions for
The
the,
applicant?
want to come on up, who wants to represent, run up?
Yeah, that's fine. Hi.
Ed and I were wondering if maybe there were other places that you'd consider putting the shed, maybe in the front of the house?
We're definitely open to it, and I appreciate what Tim's saying. I'm not looking to create any sort of eyesores. I mean, obviously, we've waited this long. I'm open to options and alternative, ways to come to approach this project. We're certainly just trying to make the property as usable as possible. We would be open to put it in the front. We talked about on the southwest corner,
Yeah,
maybe up in that area.
well, it's under,
Open to your suggestion and recommendation.
Well, we don't do design.
I know.
You know, if you
I'm
read
trying
the
to-
TAM, you need to take,
But in two locations, you just mentioned southwest, and there's also the possibility from where it's located now to march it to the west, still keeping back, I don't know, maybe, I don't know exactly how the math works out there. Certainly seems like it would be less of a problem for your adjoining property if we were to move towards Tyler Road.
I would agree, yes, and I'm open to doing that. We just didn't want to move past the front of the house because I knew that was an issue. It's a challenge of what is acceptable and not acceptable based on the lot design.
Yeah.
But I'd certainly be open to moving it.
well, I think to Member Berger's point, we can't design it for you. We can
Understood.
only, as part of the evaluation, we have to ask ourselves, are there alternative locations that are more conforming and would require fewer variances,
Mhm.
even though maybe aesthetically they might not be as pleasing for your particular property? What we can do is leave the record open.
yeah, you can.
You to come back with some alternatives. You can leave the record open, you can have a discussion with your planners and your landscape advice, and you can come back and say, well, here's some places that might still require a variance because you have a very tight lot. We understand what your problems are, but they would be more attractive to us being further from maybe the contention of what's going on to the northern property line as well as the wetlands and what we're dealing with here. So I know it's a puzzle. We see this every week. It's a puzzle.
Yep.
But I think that there's some room here for you to make some adjustments. And if we leave the record open and you make those adjustments, it would be, I think, to your benefit.
Definitely, and I appreciate your option to allow us to do so and to leave the file open and let us take another chance at coming up with some alternative options that would be acceptable.
Counsel, is it okay in this situation to just leave the record open? I know we're not in the habit of keeping hearings open unless there's a special.
No, I think,
Well, I don't think we need to
I don't know what alternative you would have. If they want to make some modifications, you give them a time period to come back with it.
By leaving the record open.
Yeah.
We've
Maybe
done
that's
this
the best way,
before.
because then
All right.
What I
What I would
suggest,
suggest, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, let me make my comment. I just, I find it disappointing that your agent had not read the TAM, and I think they and you need to collectively take a hard look at it, listen to everything we've said and what the planner has said, and go back and redesign. We're willing to leave the record open, yes, for a period of time for you to address that and come back with it.
See, and these properties are constrained properties. They're already constrained, right? It's a small property with a lot on it. We went through ZBA approval before, which in our minds means that it went through great scrutiny at that time. So I think the bar for scrutiny is even higher now, when you want to add things. So you really got to pay attention to that.
Okay.
Right.
I understand. Thank you. Is there a specific date as to which you would allow it to be
We're
open?
going to ask you how much time you need.
Okay,
You can,
about 6 weeks.
6
Okay.
weeks?
We can do 6 weeks.
Okay.
And just, go back to your agent said that it's not a self-created hardship, but you purchased in 2020, I think you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And you normally, you know, a homeowner would be aware of the rules and regulations and things that exist in there when they're buying a property from whoever represented you back then, but that's just a comment.
No, I understand. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
Anything
do we, 6 weeks would, oh, sure.
With the discussion, Tim Duffy, 38 Tyler Road, with the discussion you had about the shed moving further toward the street, even if it was that close to the property line, we would not have an issue with that. It was when we heard it was going to be on top of the wall, basically right off our patio kitchen door. I mean, if it's further up toward the street, we all park there anyway, that would not be an issue for us. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
All right.
Good.
Yep,
Okay,
so what's
unless you have
6
another
weeks?
comment, we're done.
we're good.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time
Make a
tonight.
motion now to close the hearing and keep the record open.
Then I'd like to make a motion in the application of Whelan, Matthew, and Lindsay, 32 Tyler Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-068-12-05 to close the public hearing, but leave the record open for an additional 6 weeks to allow the applicant to submit some alternatives on the layout of both the spa and the shed.
Well, the entire project needs to be looked at, right?
Yeah, to come back with another.
Come back with
A
it.
better project.
Yeah.
What's 6 weeks out for a closing date? What, October 3rd? Okay, so
October
leave the
3rd.
record open
So
till October
amend that
3rd.
to October 3rd.
Can I ask one more question?
Now, if you need more time on that extension, you have to put that in writing to the planning department if you can't meet that October 3rd. Go ahead.
Just for some direction, shed potentially shifting based on front. Fence would be like, so we look at the fence based on that back corner, which was recommended. And then the third is obviously looking at the patio and shifting, making the spa smaller and moving it closer.
Yeah, I mean, you take,
I'm working on things.
we're not gonna
Well,
guide you
that's
anymore
almost
on that. You're gonna
everything.
take what you hear. You're gonna,
So,
you're gonna take the planning department's comments. The revegetation has to get looked at.
Yep.
And things like that, so,
Thank you very much for your time.
thank you.
okay, so you want to do the motion?
Do the motion again? Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Then in the application of Whelan, Matthew, and Lindsay, 32 Tyler Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-068-12-05, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing, but leave the record open for an additional 6 weeks till October 3rd to allow for modifications on the plan.
I'll second.
Concur.
Concur. All right, thank you.
Very much.
All right.
No, it's not.
Okay, we take it outside. Next, we have Brooks, Frederick, and Sarah at 14 South Ferncroft Place in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-28-3-52. The size and location is 15,690 square feet at 14 South Ferncroft Place, Montauk Beach Development Corps, subdivision number 6, south portion of Westlake Residential Section, Block 151, Lot 7, map number 1016 in Montauk. The description is to demolish existing decking and to construct 565 square foot of new decking and stairs, 159 square foot dormer additions over the existing second story with new roof line, a new 225 square foot swimming pool, 31.5 square foot hot tub, pool equipment relocated, fencing, reconfigured driveway, 52 square feet of foyer addition, new windows and doors, an outdoor shower, and an upgraded sanitary system on a parcel of land within jurisdiction of setbacks to freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and one variance is required for this application. A variance of 11 feet from 255-430 of the Town Code is required to construct The proposed decking 89 feet from freshwater wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting? John?
Counsel?
I received the affidavit of posting, the affidavit of mailing.
All right, thank you. And Terry,
Yeah, this one's mine.
Terry, I'm assuming this is yours?
This is mine,
Okay.
yes. Okay, this is the official notice, it's properly posted. Next, now I'm looking, I think this is southward toward Westlake Drive. Next, this is the house immediately across the street, one of the nearest neighbors. Next, it's looking up South Ferncroft in the more northerly, westerly direction. Next. Okay, and now I'm standing in front of the house. This is the front of it, and this is where there had been a dormers proposed up there, but so this is, well, the front of the house. And there's a slight project plan to widen the foyer here. That's on, you can see on the survey. So that's a closer view of that. Next. Now I turn to the west. And this is the neighbor to the western portion of western the house. Okay, so now I'm standing at the top of the driveway. There are changes and proposed for the garage and the interior also. And this is the area, part of this parking area is going to be incorporated into the area where they're proposing a swimming pool and a spa. And next. This is a shot directly straight down from that where the basketball net is, and that also will become incorporated, is proposed to be incorporated into the pool area. Next. Okay. Oh, all right, now I'm standing, this is a little out of order, I think, but go back one, Tyler. I think this trailer was, yeah, okay, there. So that's a shot looking toward the easterly, basically, of the property, just to show some of the vegetation. And there is a house behind there, so that was to get another neighbor in the picture. Next. Now the pool is proposed to start, roughly the area for the pool and the decking is roughly where the end of the house is there. That's the corner there on the left side. Next, I'm going to go into the yard. So this is the area directly where in that area they'll be starting and looking toward, this is on the south side, looking toward the south and east. Next. This is another view of that area, and you can see this is just another area where that is proposed to go. And I took that partially because there's a gate there that looks like it's not on the applicant's property, and I'm just curious like what that is, if it's the applicant's or I believe another neighbor. But it's just unusual to see a gate there. Next. Now I'm standing at the back of the house on the southerly portion, and this is it gives you a view of the wood deck and the slate patio that is proposed to be removed in this project, and an elevated deck and steps proposed is going to be closer to the moved southerly, thereby increasing rather the setbacks from the wetlands, which are in the northeasterly corner there. Next. And this is a shot toward the area of that wetland in the northeast corner. Another view of the property. Next. And I was fascinated by the gate, so let's skip that. Next. So now I'm standing near that gate and shooting back just to give you another view of the house with the decking that's proposed to be removed and the patio. And to the left, it will proposed to be moved toward the southerly portion of the house, again, increasing the setbacks. Next. Now I'm standing in the corner, the northeast corner of the property with the wetlands behind me, and it's just another view from there. And I guess this doesn't count as a structure, but obviously it's movable, trampoline. Next. And another shot of that area. It's a nice yard. Next. Part of that, go back, I'm sorry, Tyler. Part of that is there was a portion where there was some concern about the property possibly becoming 3 stories, but that's become a non-issue. Next. Another view of the existing decking and patio. And next. This is the shot up the northern side of the house. I put that in there. Inside that enclosure, just by the gate, is an oil tank that was mentioned in the TAM. So that's just the location of that. I think that's the last one. Oh, there's the oil tank. Okay, that's the last one.
Thank you. Hey, Tara.
Good evening, Chairman Daleen and members of the board. Tara Burke from Lighthouse Land Planning, here on behalf of the property owners.
You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
As noted by the planning department and in Member Berger's synopsis just now, the application is for the demolition of existing decking to be relocated and reconfigured further from the wetlands, 2 dormers over the existing second story with a new roof line, 225 square foot pool, 31.5 square foot hot tub, pool equipment, relocated fencing, a reconfigured and reduced driveway, a 52 square foot foyer, new windows and doors, an outdoor shower, and an upgraded sanitary system to be situated further from the wetlands than the existing sanitary. The property owners and I spent probably 1.5 years vetting this project. It's just incredible, at least from what I've seen with them, of really taking the wetland setback seriously and trying to figure out the best way to get what they wanted while respecting the rules and regulations. And hopefully, I mean, I know you can't see all the conversations we had, but hopefully you can see that in the application that was submitted. The proposed project requires 1 variance for the decking, which will be 89 feet from the wetlands. And as noted, the existing decking is actually closer to the wetlands than the proposed deck. For the proposed decking, we have to demonstrate compliance with the variance standards in section 255-850 of the town code. And we believe that it's not substantial, as it's an improvement from the current legal conditions with respect to the wetland setback. It won't change the neighborhood or create detriment for the neighboring properties, as it's consistent with that of the surrounding properties and with the deck that's already on the residence. There's no feasible way to reconfigure the decking without the need for a variance, as we're working with an existing residence with existing entrances and exits. And the request is not self-created, as the deck is existing. It was there when they purchased the property, and we're trying to improve upon the physical environmental conditions of the property by reconfiguring it further from the wetlands. The remainder of the items requesting approval all require a natural resource special permit. As noted in my memo to the board dated August 16th, 2023, the property owner does not wish to pursue the dormers, which would have created an additional 159 square feet of gross floor area. They also, which I didn't put in that memo, but they wish to abandon the relocating of the windows and doors on the first and second story, and they no longer want to do the foyer addition. The residence is now proposed to remain completely as is, with the exception of the relocated windows and doors on the basement level and the finishing of the basement. That same cover letter I just mentioned addressed the legally existing 3rd story that was mentioned in the planning department's technical analysis memo. The portion of the proposed basement that's a 3rd story area is minimal. It's 136 square feet, which constitutes primarily of a mudroom and a closet. As noted, the proposed gross floor area with the basement renovation is still well under the allowable 2,400. It's still under the allowable at 2,457 square feet, where as per the town code, you're allowed 3,169 square feet of gross floor area on this property. The property owners are a local family with 3 children in the Montauk School, or soon to be in the Montauk School. The extra space in the basement for the kids is greatly needed, and all attempts are being made to work within the existing structure to accommodate the family's needs. A tremendous amount of thought was put into locating and designing the swimming pool and hot tub. It's outside variance jurisdiction for both wetland and property line setbacks, and it's a modestly sized swimming pool. We really crunched it down to as small as possible to meet those setbacks. There's a dry well as required, and the proposed swimming pool does not contribute to runoff as it collects water, not increasing the runoff of it. The swimming pool is compatible with the neighborhood. No neighbors have objected to it, and it fits within the residential use of the neighborhood as well. In conjunction with the swimming pool, the driveway pavement will be reduced by 70 square feet, creating a more permeable surface area on site. And the sanitary system will also be relocated to the front yard with a separation distance of 150 feet from the wetlands, as opposed to the 92 feet that exists with the current septic. We believe that this is a substantial upgrade to the site conditions. The existing septic system is actually a single cesspool, and the upgrade is a vast improvement for the environmental conditions on site, protecting the wetlands far greater than what exists now, and any potential detriment created by any of the proposed improvements. We believe that the project meets the natural resource special permit standards and the general special permit standards for the reasons outlined above. And as the planning department noted in the technical analysis memo, the changes are fairly minor. They do not expect them to have significant impacts on the wetland within jurisdiction within proper mitigation. And we believe the sanitary upgrade is significant mitigation, as did the planning department, as noted on page 2 of their technical analysis memo. And that's it for now.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I appreciate your memo. It was very thorough. I have a question about the survey. You said the updated survey I have is dated, it was revised, adding the proposal 7/20/22.
Right.
But on the new survey, I have a previous survey that was dated April 29, 22, which does not show the dormers, and the newer survey does show the dormers.
The dormers were part of the application.
Originally.
Originally, yeah. I think it was, over a year ago, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think the incomplete memo from the planning department had a comment that said the dormers weren't shown on the survey, which is tricky to do.
So
we added that for the second submission.
Okay, so there will be a new survey removing if this were approved.
Yeah, we're happy to, submit a survey reflecting the removal of the foyer and the dormers removed.
Okay. The other, I think in the plans, and I have a hard copy of the plans, I believe you sent some updates there because there was a question in the TAM about the sanitary not being on the survey. Or, well, we can hear from the planner, and then you can address that.
I'm sorry, was that a question? I'm sorry.
There was, I thought in the TAM, it said something about the survey for the septic. The septic was not included in the same. Maybe we'll let Tyler explain.
Well, the existing
I'm looking
septic-
forward to the TAM now.
The survey shows the septic.
Yeah, the septic is shown on, I think if you're referring to what I think you are, the TAM did say that the driveway reduction isn't shown on the survey.
Oh, okay. I'm
But
sorry.
no, if that is what you're referring to. But in that August 16th memo, I noted that it's actually shown on the cover page, the site plan
That's it.
on the building plans.
Yeah.
I don't know why the surveyor didn't put it on. We'd be happy to show that reduction of the driveway as well. But it is, I think it's 4.8 feet from the edge of the pool to where the driveway will start. I think that's what I said.
Yeah, now that you say that, that's what it.
I have one question. Are you taking out driveway and putting in a new driveway? And if you're putting in a new driveway, why wouldn't you use pervious quartz?
We're not proposing a new driveway.
Oh.
We're going to use the existing one, just cut it back.
Oh, okay.
So that we can put grass in between and then the pool. This, the driveway is not easy. That would be a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
There's a big retaining wall. There's some definite grade challenges. I'm not even sure the courts would hold very well.
Yeah,
So it's a rather steep driveway.
Photos, you see, it was a
Yeah.
steep grade down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank
We do have a caller on the line.
Oh, we got Tyler, we got the planning department.
Gotcha.
Good evening, and Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. That was an excellent job summarizing the application and even the assessment memo for the most part. So I won't go over too much of it again. But ultimately, the wetlands within jurisdiction are within the Lake Montauk watershed. And so any improvements on this property have the potential to impact properties well beyond the limits of the property itself and even into Lake Montauk. Essentially, there's numerous pocket wetlands in this area. Most of them were culverted, ditched, filled in to some degree back, prior to natural resources jurisdiction being established. Soon after the establishments of these lots were done. Overall, the proposed project is fairly minor improvements. The proposed decking is a relocation of the existing decking further west on the property, or east on the property, and further away from wetlands. The decking still requires a variance from wetland setbacks. However, given that the size is not significantly different and the location is more conforming compared to the existing conditions, the variance may be appropriate. The proposed swimming pool and hot tub are proposed to be located adjacent to that decking. They do not require any variances. And given that no new clearing is proposed and that the area is already partially improved, the proposed location for the swimming pool appears to be reasonable. As part of relocating the decking and constructing a new swimming pool, the sanitary system is being relocated. The existing sanitary system is a single leaching pool, likely sitting in groundwater table, and is located 92 feet from the edge of wetlands. The new system, it will meet a 3-foot separation of groundwater and is 150 feet from wetlands. So it's a significant increase in the sanitary on the property. It was also worth noting, it was sort of pointed out already, that the house is an existing 3-story residence. It appears at the rear of the house, and then a 2-story at the front. That's just based on the slopes of the lot. But that's not being changed. The dormer additions wouldn't have affected that either way since they were on the front of the house, but it was worth noting in the assessment at the very least. And overall, the proposed changes in the property are fairly minor relocations and new structures, which the planning department does not expect to have any significant impacts on the wetlands within jurisdiction with proper mitigation. The board should be sure the applicant meets the NRSP and variance standards and that adequate mitigation is included to help offset any impacts that may occur in the long term. And for the reduction of the driveway on the survey, it was more of just to make the board aware that the driveway is being reduced slightly in order to install that sanitary, the swimming pool, I'm sorry. It seems like a fairly minor change. It's already slightly improved, so that even makes the location of the swimming pool slightly better. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
No, I don't have any.
I'm done.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Anybody in the public, anybody on the phone?
Yes, we have one caller. Let me unmute.
Okay.
Caller ending with 1900. You're on the line.
Hello, caller. Are you here for this application? Hello?
Let me try. Hold on. Caller ending in 1900. You're on the line.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Did you hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you here for this
Can you
application?
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir. Okay, so,
Can you announce your name and address, please?
Julie, I'm a neighbor at 20 South Ferncroft Place.
Okay. Ma'am, do you swear or affirm to tell the
Wonderful.
truth, the whole truth? What's that?
I didn't hear her name.
What's your
Sure.
name?
My name is Maureen Bear, B-A-R-E.
Okay. And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth,
Good.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So, my first question was, just correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that an application like this came to play, that official notification was sent to the attorney homeowners within 50 feet. I did not get anything in the mail about this.
20 South Ferncroft.
We have proper notification that the mailings went out and were received. So,
Notice goes
I mean,
to the
are you contiguous to this property? Is she?
Next door neighbor, this is number 14, I'm number 20.
I'm just looking at the certified mailing receipts. They go to the address in the assessment roll. And the address in the assessment roll is Maureen Bear, Chris Calderon, and Ken, something that got cut off, at an address in Wilton, Connecticut. And that
Okay.
was mailed on August 8th.
So again,
per the
ma'am,
assessment roll.
it goes to the address that's on the tax roll.
That is actually not on the tax roll. If you told me it was going to a Florida address, I would have said, okay, I understand, but I'm not there. But the Wilton, Connecticut is 3 years gone. So that's somehow something that you folks, I guess, need to clean up.
Okay, do you
I
have
don't know.
Ma'am, do you have a comment about the application?
My second question is, there was an official notice put outside the property, and the official notice said that the meeting was August 24th. So I think that's something that you folks might want to clean up. It should have been August 22nd. And my third question is, who? So you've got all this information. Who is putting this application forward?
The owner.
Who is making it?
Frederick Brooks.
What? Frederick and Sarah Brooks.
Brooks, Frederick and Sarah Brooks.
So Frederick and Sarah Brooks have sold this property. This property is no longer owned by them. They now live in California.
Joni and Hannah Locascio own the property now, and they're continuing the application.
Okay, so the property must have been sold, but the application is still in the name of the Brooks, which is common.
So why, when you put my comment is, when you put the posting up, why don't you put the proper name on it? I find that not transparent. I find that.
Ma'am, oftentimes when a property is sold, it takes time to get into, it's not a function of this meeting or hearing or anything. Oftentimes applications continue based on who the applicant is. The applicant here is Frederick and Sarah Brooks. So oftentimes building permits are often in older names too, and then it gets transferred when it gets to the tax roll. So is there a concern you have about this, ma'am, other than that?
Well, since I haven't really had an opportunity to look at what the actual on-the-ground thing is, I really can't say that I do or don't have a concern. But I'm just going to trust in the current property owners to do the proper thing. But I do think the last two concerns should be noted, that you have to be more accurate in your notifications.
Noted. Thank you. It's noted.
3 minutes is up.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Can we make a motion? Do you have anything else to say? No.
Comments? Okay. All right. So in the matter of Frederick and Sarah Brooks, 14 South Ferncroft Place in Montauk, make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, well, after the work session part of the application, we have some post-hearing decision. We have one. I'll read that into the record. The applicant is Daniel Calaswano at 10 Hampton Place in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-170-1-26.1. The size and location is 10,000 square feet at 10 Hampton Place, Hollow Oaks, Hampton Heights, map number 807 in East Hampton. The description is to construct a 392 square foot swimming pool with pool equipment on a parcel within northern and side yard setbacks. The relief sought is variances of 1.8 feet, 5.7 feet, and 10 feet of requests required further construction of the swimming pool, 18.2 feet from the northern side yard lot line and 14.3 feet from the southern side yard lot line, where 20 feet is required. And to place the pool equipment within 10 feet from the southern side yard lot line where 20 feet is required, and any other relief necessary from the East Hampton Town Code. Zoning district is A residence zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. This was in my territories, to go over, so I'll start. The hearing was dated July 25th. The application is to propose a 392 square foot swimming pool within side yard and rear yard setbacks. The pool will be within the the rear yard setbacks. However, pool equipment will be located within the rear yard setback and within an existing shed that is theirs. This is a very narrow lot. It's a lot that is, 50 feet in width. The house was already looked like it was nicely renovated, and they're applying for a pool. In terms of dimensional variances for swimming pool, the pool is required to meet a double setback, and they are requesting to go beyond that double setback. The uniqueness, the agent for the applicant said that there were 3 neighbors that were property owners that were approved of this location and these variances. I think in terms of double setbacks, in this case, and if you have neighbors that are approving it, I think we do have to take a look at that. I ultimately, as much as I'm not crazy about it, but because of that approval of the neighbors, I think ultimately I'll be looking for approval. I don't think, other than the neighbors, I don't think that variance standards as far as the town is concerned, it affects that. So I really don't have much to say other than is adequate for me to recommend approval.
I have a couple things to add.
Go ahead, Joe.
I agree that it was unique that all the neighbors were supporting the application and that this is a very non-conforming lot in terms of its width on the north and south setbacks. Doesn't give them a whole lot of room. They agreed to revegetate the southerly side, which they were planning to do anyway, so I would add that as a condition. And they also agreed to covenant that they would not convert the shed into a pool house. The shed was going to be 240 square feet. They also represented that the pool was going to not have any decking around it to keep the noise down for the neighbors. And I also note that they had a new IA system, so they couldn't really provide more mitigation. And the TAM had made a suggestion that they follow through with adequate screening on the north and south sides, which they were amenable to.
That's correct. Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, so it's basically been covered. The narrow lot's a big factor here. It's only 50 feet wide. We see that it's very linear development that's happened here, a house in one location. It was also close to a side, I guess that was the north side there. And then there's the shed that's in the back corner of the property, again, set back away. they locate the swimming pool. I made a note that night that any swimming pool here would require a variance in almost any kind of location here because a side yard variance, because it's so narrow. Obviously, no pool, there wouldn't be a variance, but in asking for a pool, what do they have to do? And I think that that buffer to the south where there was the neighbor's driveway also there that gave a little more distance so that we didn't have the house immediately on the property line. They were immediately agreed to add screening on both the north and south side, the lack of decking around the pool so that it was not an area that would necessarily bring about a lot of extra activity. I thought all of those were good. I think the letters of support that we got and the fact that the neighbors were all in concert and agreeing that this was a project they could support were all good reasons. I think that it's a difficult spot to build. They asked for a pool. They seem to have been good shepherds of the land they have. They've taken good care of it to this point. And I didn't have a problem approving this in its entirety.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay, I agree with everyone. I think, the variances for the pool are, 1.8 foot and 5.7 foot on the south side. I think they're not very large variances. The 10-foot variance for the pool equipment is large. However, as others have stated, they want to put the pool equipment inside this overly large shed. So I am going to approve it. I think, going back to the narrow lot, I found it very unusual that it needed both a north and a south variance on the same property. That kind of jumped out at me. And the size of the pool is not overly large. It's 14 by 28 that they're proposing. And the other factor that came into that, I didn't see the septic system on the survey, but as the applicant stated, he was questioned and said that it is an OWTS that they already have. So the space for the swimming pool, it was a concern, that might be needed for an OWTS in the future. So I too think I'm going to approve this application.
Thank you.
Yeah, but now we need to, there's no project conditions. Do we need things, there's normal statements about the dry wells and the re-veg that they've agreed to?
I think a dry well is required by building code.
So we don't have to make it?
I don't know if that needs to be a project condition.
And the re-veg on the north and south.
That needs to be a condition. I think
So we need to add that in because there are none in this.
They agreed to that at the hearing.
And it's a condition, although I know we had a conversation about the pool house, but I thought the consent was that because it is over 200, that it could never be a pool house, but so did we say that it was going to be a covenant? I didn't remember that.
They agreed to represent that it would not be converted to a pool house.
Correct.
So can't we make that a condition?
Can't that be a condition? Because
It can be a
next
condition.
owner may come
It
and
can be
say,
a
I want a
condition.
pool
Yes,
house.
it could be a condition.
Okay,
Yeah,
a condition.
Right.
And can we also condition the re-veg plan on planning department approval? Because I was a little vague on
It
exactly
was
how much
vague.
revegetating.
They had
we
talked
were gonna
about,
do.
what are they called? Something Laurel.
Skip Laurel.
They said skip laurels, right?
I'm not sure on the height of that. Arborvitae was also talked about. Tyler, what's your thought?
I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be native or anything. It's, because it's just for screening purposes. So if you want us to approve something, you can, unless you want to say X number of feet along the pool, like a length of or distance. The pool's.
I don't think it needs to be the whole property line.
No, yeah, I wouldn't think so, yeah.
So maybe 6 foot either side of the pool. I'm just throwing that out
Yeah. I think that's fair.
on both sides.
42 feet in length or something like that.
Sounds about right.
That sounds good.
Put 42 feet and lay centered on the pool. Right. Along both the north and the south property line.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John?
And plan to be subject to the planning department approval though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
No, I think it has to, right?
And then what about the pool house now? What did we decide?
It's a-
They
it's a
agreed to
condition. It's
condition.
just a condition.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Next, we have extensions of time. We have extension of time for Philip Trippy at 7 Brisbane Road in Montauk, tax map number 300-30-3-3. It's an extension of 2008 termination. A brief description.
Yeah, so this, there's a 2008 determination to construct a 1,300 square foot two-story residence, patio decking, sanitary system, and clearing. There does look like there's some clearing from the neighboring property to the west on this, but there doesn't seem to be any significant reason not to grant an extension of time at this point in time. No activities have been done yet. There's no building permit issued. They're just looking to keep the permit valid.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Yep, make a motion.
Sure. In the matter of Philip Trippy at 7 Brisbane Road in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-30-3-3. I make a motion to approve the extension of time.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Concur. Next, we have Marshall Cheek and Michael Grimstand at 17 Bering East Road, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-55-1-20, and that's an extension of time of a 2018 determination.
Yes, it was approved in 2018. It got 2 variances from front yard and side yard for a garage. Work has been initiated on it, so they just want to keep the permit valid in order to continue work and then get a CO.
Okay, thank you. I have no problem with that.
No.
I'll make a motion to accept the extension of time for Marshall Cheek and Michael Grimstand at 17 Bering East Road, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-55-1-20.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Next, we have Manzel LLC at 12 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-189-6/17.1, extension of a 2011 determination.
Right, so this got a determination, the work has been done. This was actually in front of the board a couple weeks ago for an addition on the northeast side of this residence. But the work that this 2011 application was for is done, and they're ready for the issuance of a CO. So that's what they're requesting the extension for.
Okay.
Thank you. I make a motion in Menzel LLC, 12 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-189-6/17.1 to allow the extension of time.
Second. Concur.
I concur.
Next, we have David Sokolin at 91 Surfside Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-51-3-6, and the extension of time of a 2019 determination.
Yes, this is another recent approval, 2019. No work has been initiated on this yet. They're just looking to keep the permit valid.
Okay, no problem. I'll do it. Then in the matter of David Sokolin at 91 Surfside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-51-3-6, I'd like to make a motion to approve the extension of time.
Second. Concur.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have Sandro D. Oliveira at Busuli at 83 North Surfside Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-29-1-10.1, extension of a 2019 determination.
Yeah, so the work on this is complete. They're just looking to get a CO. It was work for the swimming pool in the back, a couple other smaller structures. And they're just looking to get their CO at this point in time. The work is done.
Okay, I'm okay with it. So, matter of Sandro de Oliveira Busuli at 83 North Surfside Avenue in Montauk, Tax Map 300-29-1-10.1. Make a motion to approve the extension of time.
Second.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have the draft minutes of August 8th and August 15th, 2023.
Did you add that one thing? To the August 8th minutes? Okay, it just needed an amendment on August 8th that we ended the meeting. That was missing.
Oh,
from
okay,
it.
so we can
I'll
make
make a motion that will approve the amended and you'll amend it. Okay. So I make a motion to approve the amended draft minutes of August 8th, 2023 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I make a motion to approve the draft minutes of August 15th, 2023 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have three resolutions. We have Michael Frischberg at 4 Osborne Farm Lane in Wayne-Scott, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-197-8-11. And if you remember, this was a small piercing of the side yard of the setback, which was on an odd-shaped lot. The board approved this unanimously. I'll make a motion for Michael Frischberg at 4 Osborne Farm Lane, Wayne-Scott, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-197-8-11 to adopt the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
Second, we have Andrew Kaufman at 50 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax number 300-92-6-19. And I think we just got this in writing today. We do have to make a decision on this tonight. But I think we should open to a little bit of comment, council, so maybe we can, some additions to it.
Sure.
I know I had a concern about, I should pull this up. Terry, why don't you go first and then I will pull up.
Yeah, well, one of the big things that jumped out at me was on the standards and the review of the natural resource special permits. There's a reference to 255-5-51 in the document, in the resolution, that talks about 255-5-51 and D, which it starts out as preservation of natural resources. I think that needs to be fully spelled out in it. It says in order to establish a structure or use, but I think item number 2, which was one of the major, at least my major things in this denial of it, which states alternative designs entailing smaller buildings or structures, reduced yard or other setbacks, diminished reconfigured areas of use are determined not to be effective in preventing loss of potential damage. That document says that only if those things cannot be done, that there could be exceptions, only after those things have been explored. And that wasn't stated out. I think that entire D section should be stated out.
I just want to make sure in that determination, what she just said, that it did come up that the planning department did say that there was a relief for the front yard setback so that the house could be located further upland.
That's another one, yeah.
Right.
I think basically what you're saying is that we felt they didn't explore alternative options.
Yeah, well, the code says
Requires
if there is inadequate upland for the structure use proposed, minimal exceptions may be authorized, but only after they explored number 2 and number 1, alternative uses. And that does tie into the 15-foot front yard setback versus 20 also. That's just another factor of it. So I think that should be stated out.
So you want to have the full text of those code provisions added?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then, it says 255-111, the purposes of zoning. It just says that. I don't know, do we want to specify certain ones on that? I don't remember what we said that night.
John, what would be the proper protocol here?
I mean, if you want me to go to the office and add it in, I can bring it back, correct it if you want.
See that again?
I said, if you wanted me to go to the office and add it in, I could do that. Otherwise, you could just make the motion to amend
To
it
accept it as per, okay.
as amended to include the full text of that code section. Absolutely. So
Therefore, I make a resolution, I may make a motion in it applicant of Andrew Kaufman, 50 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-92-6-19 to adopt the resolution as amended this evening.
I'll second it.
Concur.
With the amendment of adding the actual test from 255, 551 day
That's correct.
into the text.
Yeah, number 9,
Okay.
Thank you.
at least.
All right, next we have Gori Orkandi Edlick and Alexander Edlick, 40 Roxbury Lane in Wayne Scott, Suffolk, tax map number 300-197-6-1. If you all remember, Joan, I don't know if you were on the board on this one. Were you, Ed?
I was.
Yes, you were. This was a gross floor area variance that was denied by the zoning board. It went into Article 78. It's now went through the process of
Article 78?
well, it did go through Article 78, and this is a settlement of that proceeding. We are now approving the GFA.
An order from the court.
Order from the court, yeah.
So with that, we have an amended resolution before us, and I'm going to make a motion and applicant of Gori Orkandi Edlick and Alexander Edlick, 40 Roxbury Lane, Wayne Scott, Suffolk tax map number 300-197-6-1 to adopt the resolution, the amended resolution as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Reluctantly
Am I allowed to
concur.
concur? I didn't.
Because your name was on it. Well, yeah, I guess.
Well, it is before us, it's an amended, but.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
got it.
yeah. All right, thank you. And I think that brings us to a close at 8. Vice Chair.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Then I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals.
August 22nd.
I'm sorry, yeah. The Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing and work session for August 22nd, 2023.
Second.
Concur.
I concur. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.